But it's over! It's over!
It's been about a month and a half since the Springboks defeated the All Blacks to win the World Cup, and I thought it would be interesting to revisit this pressure cooker of a match from a tactical viewpoint. For the Springboks, it's all about pressure and forcing opponent mistakes. They do this in a number of ways, but the two main ways are box kicks and crossfield bombs. This, in combination with their strong set pieces, allow them to take control of their games consistently. For the All Blacks, it's about maximizing turnovers and striking when their opponents are disorganized. They push teams back with accurate territorial kicking and then deploy highly accurate defensive lines to force opponent mistakes. They also have an immaculate lineout that's very likely the best in the world. The game started with New Zealand kicking off. This gave them the opportunity to put their strategy into action from the very first minute. Unfortunately for them, this didn't happen. After a shaky first lineout with a missed pass, the All Blacks were driven back deep into their own half, where Shannon Frizzell ultimately committed a penalty and got a yellow card. They tried to push South Africa back territorially through box kicks and long-range kicks. However, the Springboks back three fielded them very effectively and were able to mitigate any pressure that the All Blacks managed to put on them. On the flip side, South Africa's restarts were managed well in these periods. They managed to push New Zealand back effectively, and their kicks had a good amount of pressure behind them because they were so accurate. I should add that Damian Willemse had a superb kicking game, and he managed to gain at least 30 meters with every kick that he made, meaning that there were very few All Blacks lineouts deep in the Springboks half. This was the tone for the majority of the first half, as the All Blacks would try to push South Africa back, who then ultimately recovered and capitalized on their mistake. New Zealand tried to string together a lot of attacking phases, but they just couldn't break through the Springboks defense. So, how did the All Blacks claw themselves back into the game? In one word, the lineout. South Africa took a gamble early on in the tournament by not bringing in a replacement for the injured Malcolm Marx. In hindsight, this was probably the correct decision, as it was ultimately the boot that gave them the points. But it did cause them a lot of headaches in this game. The Springboks only managed to get a 60% lineout success rate, whereas the All Blacks had a 90% lineout success rate. This gave New Zealand a lot of good platforms throughout the match to launch strong attacks and to put South Africa under pressure. One area that indicated South Africa was in control of the first half was the crossfield bomb. They are arguably the pioneers of the way that it is used today, and it's what allows them to take the initiative when they are in a position to deploy it. The bomb consists of the kick, the chase, and the ruck that forms thereafter. Usually, the Boks will position their biggest forwards like Mostert and Etzebeth as the chasers to compete in the air or to exert immense pressure if the breakdown forms. South Africa managed to launch a lot of these kicks in the match, particularly in the first half. The All Blacks were able to largely reverse this trend in the second half, despite an early scare where South Africa nearly scored. They were able to slowly push the Springboks back deeper and deeper into their own territory, which put them under huge pressure. Their solid lineouts combined with great distribution and exceptional wings gave them opportunities to capitalize and score points, or to take back control of the game. As the game went on, New Zealand managed to keep the ball in play for longer periods of time and were able to exhaust the South Africans. This meant that towards the end of the match, the All Blacks were able to launch very effective attacks from within their half, and these made a lot of meters. I do feel that South Africa made some smart decisions during these periods, and it was their game management that got them the trophy. New Zealand has an amazing defensive system that's highly effective. It was very important for the Springboks not to take the system head on. So, they put up many pressure kicks instead of getting into the physical battle in open play. This allowed the game to stay more structured in nature, and there were only a handful of times when the All Blacks could create chaos. This was one of the closest finals, deserving of one of the best tournaments in the sport's history. Both of these teams thoroughly deserved the trophy, but unfortunately, only one can lift it in the end. I'm planning on covering the Rugby Championship as well as other international and domestic competitions. So, if you'd like to see more, then please consider liking and subscribing. See you next time.